The, Mr. President, colleagues, the issue here, you can keep talking about the arbitral award, and we all know how brilliantly that arbitral award was won when our German lawyer took away all aspects of sovereignty in the issue. Hindi yung they will decide, the arbitration will decide who is the sovereign over this or that area. Right, Harry? Okay. What the German did is he said, let's just ask them to rule what happens with these features. Yung they show themselves at high, they're still apparent, you can see them at high tide, or you see them only at low tide. And what does it generate? What kind of territorial, what kind of sea it generates? That's it. Now, the question really is, who lost possession of that reef, Scarborough? I was a little hard on I have been very hard on the Americans, blaming them, because when there was a confrontation between a Philippine ship, Del, please correct me, at any point, and a Chinese ship, and now it's become 30 ships, according to the Rosario, so I'm not sure how many ships there are, no? But when they confronted themselves, the interference, the participation of the United States was to try to stop people from attacking each other. Well, they think it's their job. So they said, stand down. So they stood down. And then the United States told both sides, not taking sides, said, withdraw. Now, if you believe, your government at that time believes that that is yours, why will you withdraw? These are only good officers of the United States. It is a suggestion. I think you should both withdraw. So what you should have done, I don't want to say that like I know better after the fact, but the truth is, if I have UNCLOS on my side saying we are within the exclusive economic zone, and the Chinese ship is not, from my point of view, then I'll say, I'll just look at the other side and say, go. And you go, I'll go. But you go first. Instead, our side withdrew. So what happens to our claim that this is ours? Just give it up. Now, later on, they went to court. And then it decided one thing. Harry, tell me if I'm wrong. That the historical claims of China must yield to UNCLOS because it's the latest law on it. Never mind your history, whatever you think. History does not confer rights. Tradition does not confer rights once a law comes into play. So, that's all. I mean, why did we yield possession? And that's, I think, the first thing you must ask. Who gave the order to withdraw that ship? Because it is from there that we start having the problems that are actually a separate issue from the arbitral award. We won it. Well, actually, from the time when we won that, I immediately announced to the United Nations, again, please correct me. I said, this is not just us. By the way, the rest of the world didn't care. This is not just us. This is applicable to Norway. This is applicable to any other country because it was not a determination of Philippine or Chinese sovereignty. It was a description of features in the maritime areas. That was it. Now, who moved aside from that issue and then who yielded possession in the first place? I think you decide. I won't say. I'll just decide who withdrew. Again, the Americans could not force us. They couldn't force the Chinese. They did not want to force anybody. They just said, this is my suggestion so you guys don't kill each other. Stand down, withdraw. We were the first to withdraw. But yet, under UNCLOS, which is already old, we had first right to be there. But we pulled out. Now, who needs to explain then? I think before you start any debate about the merits of the obligations generated by the arbitral award, you must first settle the issue. Who in a game of chicken stopped this car on the edge of the abyss first? That's all, Mr. President.
Actually, sir, thank you. That was what was in my mind when I challenged Carpio to a debate. Well, ang problema lang kasi dito is nakalimutan ko na si Carpio ang hindi ang presidente, ako. So, policy statement kung anong itanong niya, masasabi ko, and I might bind future actions of government pagdating dito sa West Philippine Sea. Pero doon ako sa kahon. It's not because I'm afraid of debates. Ilang debate na dinaanan ko nung eleksyon. Araw-araw halos. Ganito yan. Hindi ako lalabas, just like the position of the Secretary of Foreign Affairs. I would insist on the one issue before we go to the other side issues. Sino ang nagbigay ng possession sa China sa West Philippine Sea? Sila. Kaya kung hindi sila umalis, di walang problema. Tayo ang umalis because yung sabi ni Secretary Locsin about the good offices, ang ibig sabihin ng magandang loob lang, offer to mediate na para hindi magkaupakan. That was the America was there for. But ang aking ngayon is, my sentiment is, bakit hindi nila in-enforce? He could have said, look, you allowed us to mediate. Then, the result of that mediation must be followed. Ipapasubo mo ako eh. But America did nothing. Apparently, I don't know. Maybe afraid of China would turn its direction towards them. So, para tayo umalis talaga. At hindi na tayo nakabalik. Ang ginasabi ko na sa kanilang na possession, it's not really about ownership. It's not about sovereignty. Kung sino andyan nakahawak, ano has been building ngayon sa newspaper, they are building a military garrison. Nasabihin nila na hindi sa no possession. How stupid can you get? Hindi sa possession, pero ginagawa niya yung propiedad parang kanya. As simple as that. Ang debate ko sa iyo dito lang sa dalawa. Hindi ako takot sa iyo. Ang problema, hindi ko nga alam na hindi ka presidente. That's about it. Secretary Locsin.
There was one thing, and again, please inform me, Secretary Del. I've always said that even before when this was happening, I was a publisher. When this was happening, two things you must understand. You know that the media and nobody paid attention to this issue. I give credit to Pnoy. They were the first ones to do it. Every president, it was only the armed forces of the Philippines after independence. For some reason, nobody understands, including the great writer Hayton, started picking up features before UNCLOS. I think the armed forces had foresight. But whatever it was, they were all alone, so they did it. But the question is this. When they said in good offices, as the president used, I didn't even know the term, the good offices to mediate, stand down, withdraw. When we withdrew, the United States has no obligation, Mr. President, to go to war. The thing about the Mutual Defense Treaty is you have to be attacked. Nobody was attacked. We withdrew. If the Chinese wanted to attack, there was nobody to attack. The other side left, and I don't know if they would have attacked. That's one thing. I have talked to the Chinese, to Foreign Minister Wang Yi. They have no intention to do that. If you had kept up that face-off, it might have ended up in just the two sides talking to each other. But why we withdrew when we had UNCLOS in place that said, under this law, we have the right to be here, you don't. But we did. And that's the meaning of losing possession. When you walk away from that, and there is no obligation, even at that time, I would say, President Aquino, why don't you go into the water? Goes all the way there. Because you cannot expect the United States to trigger the Mutual Defense Treaty unless they sink the boat in which you are. But if you are not want to go there, in fact, I was willing to be a ship's cook. I can do it, you know. If you're not willing to go there, there's no obligation to defend the Philippines because it hasn't been attacked. There's no obligation to defend if you are not attacked. And that is what was avoided. One ship sailed away. Mr. President.